Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. What I'm going to upload now is actually more Wicca rather than actual original witchery. And what I want to make quite clear is that I wasn't brought up in that way with Wicca. Wicca's very different to old witchcraft. It's very similar in some ways because I think some ways were taken from the original witchcraft, but at the same time, Wicca is definitely more of a religion and it's worldwide practice. I mean, you'll see a lot more Wicca and Wiccan than you will old witchery like the rose and thorn that I do, because it's just more adverse and it's pretty much everywhere. That being said, through history, the amount of all different Wicca, it really does depend on which culture you come from. It depends on your own belief system because it just goes that far back. If you look at the archaeological finds, it shows evidence that protective spells, ancient curses, evil eye, talismans and warding items go back millenniums. They really go that far back. White magic was pretty prevalent in Greek and Egyptian cultures. As we know, the magic circle, that's used no matter whether it's witchery, Wiccan, Wicca, the magic circle is generally used. Words are one of the most important tools, obviously, but it's always been prevalent through history. Wicca comes in line with pagan and neo-pagan, and many spells came from the Book of Secrets, which lists all spells that you would need to know through any lifetime. Historically, witchcraft is the use of energy through the use of supernatural powers. That's what witchcraft is. And unfortunately, many do not understand that Wicca is not to cause harm. They assume that it's to give curses, to poison, to weaken, to bend one's will. That's not Wicca. Wicca does not involve that. However, old-style witchcraft does involve a fair bit of that. Not that it's practised every day or anything, but it does involve it. But since the 20th century, the word witchcraft in general is completely being misinterpreted, and it blows it all out of proportion thanks to such Hollywood films and just in general bad stories being circulated that are probably not true. Or at least they are true, but not in a witchcraft sense. Because people falsely thought that the Wicca was traditionally evil and did curses and things, this kind of brought the idea about of lots of people becoming scared of it, making out it was evil, and obviously there were witch hunts, prosecution came and death. However, I will tell you from doing about botany that when the witch hunts occurred, there is a very possible theory that the alcohol they were making from the wheat and the rye and such may not have been as pure as what it should have been, and because of the fact that it wasn't enough to kill, but it could have led to like hallucinations and things, you know, like your psychogenic sort of herbal remedies and things. Well, they caused a lot of visions and panic in the witchcraft times, and they could have actually had something to do with the fact that people thought there were more witches than what they actually were, and they were doing bad things. However, regardless which neo-pagan and paganism, it was all illegal and it was all punishable by death. During the 1920s, covens started to organise in private, and they would well document every meeting. The research on rituals and spells that were published in many books actually involved the authors being tracked down and imprisoned for their writings. What people failed to realise and notice is this wasn't witchery, this was Wicca and pagan, and actually it was extremely similar to Christianity. The Wiccans and pagans, they believed in God and Mother Nature, the gods and Mother Nature. They would use prayers, rituals, positive energy to infuse into the world, and they would channel positive energy. Sacrifices are just simply the misconceptions. A lot of it was sort of made up. They would not do that for the sake of accomplishing a particular goal. Wiccans and pagans wouldn't do that to try and accomplish something that was sort of for themselves. You know, most magic, as in Wicca magic, pagan magic, was actually white and had nothing to do with dark arts or witchery. The history of curses and hexes is quite long, and there's many variations in different cultures, and there's many beliefs. The intention was to conjure supernatural power for misfortune, punishment to a particular target, even death or dark spells or jinxes. It was a very powerful phenomenon, often looked at as being the wrath of the gods, presence of evil forces. And those who suspected they were curses would seek out shamans, religious leaders, healers, prayers, religious rituals to release them from the curse. Curses aimed at sort of punishing or attempting to change one's behaviour, ward off disaster, control other people's actions, were widespread and brought panic. There's the Pharaoh's curse, the ancient Egyptian curses, because they were the most notorious. And they came to light, I think, in 1922, when Tutankhamun's tomb was opened. And this brought about a lot of public speculation as to the true power of the curse. Deadly curses in royal tombs, especially Egyptian times, they're actually probably quite rare, but there was protection against the desecrating of tombs, protection against anybody doing bad things around the tomb. So they could have been perceived as curses, even though they were more of a, you shouldn't really tamper with the dead or this will happen, you know, which is fair enough because they're respecting their dead. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a curse. The warnings and sort of warding curses were used more for actually protecting items and valuables rather than to curse a particular person. It was more about putting it on a person to protect them, on an item to protect the item. The medieval period had curse books, and these were widely used, and they were effective as well, at keeping thieves away from important works and scrolls. The medieval Catholic churches passed many of these books on and kept them for themselves, but high penalty would come if they were defaced or if they were to be stolen, of course. The idea of curses, jinxes, can also be found in the Christian Bibles. The generation curse is mentioned multiple times in Exodus 2:05 and 3:47, Numbers 14:18 and Deuteronomy 5:9. This curse proclaims that God is a jealous God, punishing the children for sin of the fathers and the third and the fourth generation of those who hate him. And you can only find salvation in obviously breaking that curse by devoting yourself to God. Then we go for the infamous Devil's Bible, the massive manuscript, and according to legend it was written in a single night by a monk who was in pact with the devil. And it's thought the actual infamous Devil's Bible itself is cursed. Malevolent hexes sort of demonstrate pre-Christian beliefs that this dark magic was more of the curses and the light magic was more light blessings. Dark magic was often associated with curses and is still associated with curses and dark spirits. Ancient Greco-Roman society used cursing tablets in attempt to harness malevolent spirits and the wrath of powerful gods to harm their foes. Binding spells would be used, written down sort of on paper, and they would be, well, they'd have a nail driven through them into the ground or an area. It kind of depended. Even at the bottom of wells, they've been found. They've also been found nailed to temple walls and even buried with the dead. The tablets were found attempting to appear to the underworld gods such as Pluto, Hecate, Persephone, while other times it seems the victim's name and what sort of misfortune would become of them, or death, were enough to be written without the incantation of such gods or goddesses. If we look at the tablet of a curse in London that was found, it reads, I curse Tretia Maria and her life and mind and memory and liver and lungs mixed up together, and her words, thoughts and memory. This may she be unable to speak what things are concealed, nor be able to practice. And that's kind of just a curse that was actually found, that was found in London, I guess. That's why it's called the Tablet Curse of London. Practice of magic in Wicca, even though it's been proven that it probably wasn't the case, they did associate evil hexes and cursing when crops suffered, when food spoiled, when milking cows went dry, when horses went lame. And many were killed for this as well. It was believed that by killing the person that had sent out the curse or was doing witchcraft, it would break the curse, which again is not true. The evil eye is quite ancient and it dates way, way back to Paleolithic periods, and it's still feared today in many cultures like the Middle East, Latin America, Africa, Central America, Asia, Europe and the Mediterranean. The malevolent glare, the evil look, thought to cause bad luck and even injury. The power of the evil eye is so persuasive around the world that many cultures use amulets or talismans up to this date to ward off the evil eye. And many people still protect against many different curses. Rational scientific, obviously, comes up with a different perspective, and medical science does too. They call this nocebo effect, which can alter one's expectation. The nocebo effect is an adverse psychogenic reaction to a perception or expectation, and it remains a powerful psychological and physiological phenomenon. If one truly believes they are cursed, the power is in it, right there, just like that. Even if the curse does not exist, because it's believed so, it will be. They kind of remain within their own state of mind that they are cursed, and their health tends to deteriorate because they stress about this so much, even though it actually does not exist. It's important to remember that curses are just as powerful today as what they were back then, sometimes more so. Everything in life is interconnected. We're part of a vast universe, and all is a force of nature, a force of life. We're all webbed together. It's a universal pattern of order. And you can learn to work with these patterns, using them, because they're an active part of the whole that is needed for magic. Cosmic order is not random, and it's not meaningless. The philosophy behind a spellcraft is actually the very oldest of human beliefs. There's been many philosophers that, even through ancient times, believe that once you can understand how the world is one and connected, you can start unlocking your magical powers. These patterns that we use, they're in every level of existence because they're within energy, and energy, again, is everywhere and it's indestructible. It just changes. Different groups will call them by different names. The Plateau called them ideas or forms. Jung called them archetypes. Tibetan Buddhist call them the mind. The physicist Bohm called them the implicit order. Those who craft spells interact with the art of correspondences. These patterns are very thoughts and dreams of the gods and goddesses, and the very bones and blood of the earth. Your soul, in its bodily form, is a receiver, a perceiver, a participant within the patterns. These patterns and intricacies exist simultaneously between you and in the realm of spirit, outside of you in the realm of matter. In essence, you are magic and we have ultimate control. Unfortunately, what everybody lacks is belief, and everybody seems to lack that. But if you can believe, then you have the ultimate control, and the essence of magic is right at your fingertips. I'm going to leave this part right here, guys, and I will continue sometime soon with the rest of it. I hope you will enjoy this because I do not practice Wicca. I practice old witchcraft and it's a bit different. But I know that a lot of people are interested in Wicca. That's why I've decided to share what I can. Hopefully help some people along the way. Love and light and many blessings.